students always seemed to like the thing that I loved most, which was having days where they drew each other.
Oh, yeah.
And so I have a huge collection downstairs of drawings from my 38 years of teaching at Iowa. You know, I have a family tree, as it were, downstairs.
Do you stay in touch with
some people? I only stay in touch with those people who answer my emails. You know, if they don't answer, I can't. You know, but which is not to say though that I don't think about people a lot. It's not to say I don't think about people a lot, because I do think about people I don't stay in touch with, but I think about these people a lot.
So, you know, in terms, we were just talking about perception, and in some ways, I wonder, how, you know, how do you feel like you actually were teaching students how to perceive their own? I think
first of all, I was trying to get people to see, right? To look, to see, to in a sense bear witness to the form that they see, or the color, or the shapes, or the line, or the edges, or the rhythms, and so that to me was the sort of heart and soul of what I taught in drawing. And Jesus, those are huge earrings, aren't they? I didn't even, they're hiding there under your hair, but I'm going to get them in here for sure. And I'm going to take this greenish pastel and see, I just saw those. So if I'd seen them earlier, I might have just drawn two big loops. And do you have two? Oh yeah, you do have two. And pretended that's what they really looked like. But it was not until I actually saw them that it made a difference to me. And so that's about perception. I mean, it's about seeing and responding, and then translating that. I don't know. So
I can easily understand why that's so important for the individual artist to figure out their own way of seeing.
That was a mistake. Let's see now. How will I incorporate that mistake? That's always part of the game, is how do you incorporate the mistakes?
Yeah. That's what I love about art, is most of it's corrected mistake.
Isn't it? And that wonderful word, I guess it's an Italian word, that is so beautiful in picture making, and that the word is pentimenti, and it just means the layers of things that have passed underneath the top layers. And you can still see the mind working, and the hand working, you know, and maybe the eye working.
So, you know, this idea that, I keep going back to this thing of perception, but I wonder...
Go back.
You're helping young artists...
not lose their brushes in the ink. Right.
To see, so that they can really create their own art, the art that they will make, because as the vessel that's interpreting the world around them. But why for you? Because I mean, art has to have importance to you in the world. Why is art important to you?
Well, doing these things is important to me because I'm kind of a sucker for people.
You like people.
I do. I like people, and I like people who like me, of course. Who doesn't? And so I just look for people who like me, and then I like to draw them. So that's a facetious kind of answer. I mean, I didn't mean for it to be quite so silly, but I enjoy playing with you know, the relationships that I develop with people, and I think sometimes they're the greatest pleasure of life. And so that's a little bit of what keeps me going with drawing. With drawings, I mean drawings like this, or drawings that I've made over the years and I keep making. Now, I look forward, for instance, to a show that I'm going to have a year and a half, I guess it is, that's going to be paintings I made in the 1960s from life of figures, and recent drawings that are made from life, and there'll be sort of like covering a 40-year span of like looking and seeing and recording and responding and reacting and expressing in a way. A friend of mine made a book on drawing, and I noticed that he put some of my drawings in it. A label on one of the drawings said, expressionistic contour drawing. Well, I don't know. I never think about, I'm making an expressionistic drawing now.
Right.
But I do think the drawings are kind of a reflection of a thing that I see as an expressive side of me that is, you know, I tend to be a little theatrical and full of myself and all of that stuff, which I like to think comes out in the drawings. And so maybe they are expressionistic in some way. These drawings are, the drawings that I have been making recently are not academic studies in any means. And they are, instead, I think, plays on response and invention. I mean, it's a little like jazz, I think. I mean, I know I'm talking to a jazz singer, so I have to be careful about this. But
well, I was just thinking about music when you were saying that, because
I think about music all the time. I mean, I think about music in relation to layers of things, or you know, the visual variety that happens when you use different materials with each other, and it's a little bit like different instruments in an orchestra, or different voices in a choir, or different tempi and different kind of degrees of volume, and you know, all that stuff.
Well, when you were saying that, you know, this little line underneath your drawing, and it said, what was it, contour expression?
Yeah, right.
Some musicians set out to have a certain kind of genre of music they're trying to create, but you don't find that as much with artists. I don't talk to artists who often are saying, yes, I only do abstractions. But you'll hear a musician say, I only do jazz. Visual artists get to ride around a little bit more within the genres.
Well, there is a certain kind of freedom that I think artists are jealous to guard that freedom. And I don't know that all careers and walks of life have that indulgence, but it sure is a pleasure to. Yeah.
Seems you've had quite a nice life as an artist.
Well, it hasn't been bad, I must say. I've been exceedingly lucky in lots of ways.
Now, how did Oaxaca happen?
Well, Oaxaca happened thanks to some leave of absences that I had from the university, and we made a trip to Mexico because we couldn't afford to go to Greece. And, and then we were glad we couldn't afford to go to Greece because we ended up loving Mexico. Somebody asked me, Seth actually asked me last night, well, what is it about Oaxaca? What's the draw? And I think the draw is that it took me into a place that took me inside myself in a funny kind of way that I didn't expect at all. I mean, I'd never thought about Mexico as a place that I would have much relationship to, you know, before I went there. And yet, something clicked with me in Mexico. And
what do you mean when you say it brought you into yourself?
Well, my first time in Mexico was in San Miguel de Allende, which is a beautiful colonial town, and it had architectural gems that sort of showed the value of tradition and the integrity of a culture honoring its past and being proud of it, and so that was one thing.